Hey guys, welcome to Faith, Family, and Football. I'm your host, Jordan Capel, a believer, a family man, and a lifelong student of the game. Inside this podcast, we dive into what matters most: a strong faith, a strong family, and a strong foundation through the game we love. Every episode will share stories, lessons, and encouragement to help you lead with purpose on the field, at home, and in your walk with God. And at the end of the day, coach with confidence. Let's get after it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Faith, Family, and Football podcast. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about building a relationship with your athletes and how that can help you build a more successful program. So, first of all, I want you to think about the impacts that the transfer portal has had within the college level athletics and think about how that could possibly influence a change within high school athletics. Will people be offering money? Probably not. But schools are going to be more invested into their facilities to attract more athletes to their programs. And I think that through social media and things of that nature, they're going to be able to influence kids to move schools. Now, is this wrong? I don't really think so, but we have to be able to battle it using what we have available as resources to us. Now, you may not be a social media mastermind or somebody who can do graphic design work, but you are somebody who should at least be a professional in football and a professional in relationships. And you need to focus on building those relationships because a relationship with your kids is something that can ultimately prevent them from leaving and going to a separate program, especially if they're an athlete who will be good in the future but is not quite getting the playing time that they want right now. So, how do we develop those relationships? Well, a key to any conversation is finding common ground. So if you want to build a relationship with an athlete who is new to your program, or you're going to start a fresh new relationship with them, maybe you don't know them that well, find a common ground. Find something that you can have a conversation about that you both enjoy. It doesn't need to necessarily be program or football related, okay? So it can be fishing, hunting, gaming. It can be college level athletics. It can be NFL, Major League athletics, whatever it is. Find something that you both enjoy that you can have that conversation with at any time, okay? Because what this is going to do is it's going to allow them to kind of put their wall down and have an open conversation with you. This is a great way to start building a relationship on the front end. Once you have that initial relationship, you can have deeper conversations. You can begin to get to know about their family, about their personal goals, whatever it may be. When you begin doing that stuff, it shows them that you care about them as an individual and not just as an athlete. Now, this is an extremely important part of coaching because a lot of coaches ignore this step. They just talk ball. Like the only time that they talk to their kids is in the meeting room, and we're only going to be talking about X's and O's. There's nothing else. So if you want to start making a true impact on your kids, you need to be able to have conversations. You might not be somebody who's good at it. It might take some work for you, but you need to be consistent about trying it over and over and over again. Will it be difficult at times? Absolutely. Not all kids are going to be easy to talk to, right? If you've taught in the classroom, there's several kids that you might not want to have a conversation with, but you have to do it as a teacher, right? And it's the same thing as a coach. If somebody's in your program and you are an influence to them, whether you like it or not, and you need to be able to have conversations with them, whether you like it or not. And as you begin to get more and more comfortable with it, right, you can have open conversations with them, allow them to open up. They're going to recognize that you care about them as much more than just an athlete. And that's a key part of growing a successful program is having those relationships, having that culture to fall back on when things don't go our way, when adversity strikes. If you are not currently doing this within your program, I highly suggest that you start building those relationships with your athletes and make sure that you're leading with intention and empathy. And that means that I'm intentionally taking time to build those relationships with my kids. I'm intentionally taking time to get to know them, their interests, their hobbies, their goals. You need to have those one-on-one meetings with athletes, and it doesn't have to be a formal sit down in the office. It can be as they're exiting the door, you give them a fist bump and say, hey, how's your mom doing? Or how's your dad doing? And just talk to them, right? If kids begin to see that within their athletic experience, it's going to make it more difficult for them to leave because they know that you care about them. And in return, it kind of forces them, I wouldn't, maybe not the word force, but influences them to also care about you enough to not leave your program and to come and talk to you about if they're having any struggles about why they might leave. Now, you have to do this as a coach, or you need to do this as a coach, but as a head coach, you may not be able to do this with every single kid that's in your program. You will have conversations, but those relationships are going to be harder for you to get within the full team. And so, what I highly recommend doing is trying to divide it up within your groups. Like everybody on your staff is kind of responsible for a particular skill group, whether that's linemen, defensive back, linebackers, yada, yada, yada. Okay. If I am the linebacker coach, then it should be my personal responsibility to develop a relationship with those kids. Because at the end of the day, who's responsible for coaching linebackers? It's me. So if I want to be able to get to know my kids so that I can coach them better, then I have to build those relationships. If I want them to take me seriously, to know that I care about them, then I need to be responsible for developing those relationships. It can't be somebody else developing those relationships because they're not coaching them. Does it help for other people on staff to have those relationships? Absolutely, because that goes on to building the stronger culture. But I have to take ownership of that. And if each coach within each little skill group begins to do that and take ownership of their relationships with their kids and begins to take that responsibility seriously, then you have an overall impact and growth of culture within your program. Now, what I can also do to help the head coach, right? Because the head coach is going to be somebody who has a lot on their plate, but they need to still be responsible for the relationships too. They just may not be as involved as we can be because we might be managing 10 kids where they might be managing 60 plus kids. It really depends on the number in the program. So if I take one of my kids who I know has a personal problem, okay, mom's in the ER for X, Y, and Z, okay, I can take that kid, talk to him a little bit of his problem, and just go to the head coach and say, hey man, this is what's going on with Hobo Joe, okay? If we can just kind of get to a point to where everyone on staff is taking ownership of the relationships within their particular skill groups, relaying that information with the staff, and then taking time, short stems of time, not has to be 15, 20-minute conversations, but just share that information with each other when something is going on in an individual's life and just show them that we care about that person as a staff, you're going to have a huge dynamic change within your culture. If you don't have a strong culture right now, relationship building is where you need to start. Just showing the kids that you care and not for just their athletic capabilities. But what we have to do as coaches is take a step back and stop looking at it through the lens of people who love the sport. Because a lot of times when we see athletes, we just assume that they love the sport, when in reality, athletes can be playing for various different reasons. Mom, dad could be making them. They could just want to be part of the team, right? Maybe it's just something to keep them out of trouble. But there's a lot of different reasons that people can play besides the love of the sport. You have to figure out their motivation and intention for playing as a coach so that you can coach them better. Because if you don't take time to recognize that, then you may be missing out on a golden nugget that can really help you connect with that kid and get them to play at a higher caliber than what they were originally doing. But you have to do that. That's just part of coaching. It's part of taking ownership of that relationship with your athlete and trying to get them to be the best version of themselves that they can possibly be. Hopefully, you are taking something out of this and that you will make relationship building a core part of what you want to do in order to be successful as a coach. Is it necessary? I would say yes, but I'm sure that other coaches may be shaking their head and saying no. But I think that relationship building is a core part of just building a stronger team culture in general. And I do feel that team culture is a large indicator of success, especially within high school athletics. Because culture is going to be able to overcome a lot of adversity when you go into games and things aren't going your way, or when you go into the season and something comes up. Culture can overcome that. And if you don't have a strong culture, then you may not have the athleticism that you need to back up what you don't have in culture. So make sure that you're taking time to build those relationships. We're going to come back after a short video and continue talking football. Hey coach, real quick, if you're getting value from this episode, I've got a small favor to ask. Take a second and share this video with another coach who could use a little extra encouragement today. Whether it's a teammate, someone in your district, or even a coach you look up to, pass it along. The mission here is to help build coaches up just like you, and it starts by spreading the word. So hit that share button, send it to a friend, and let's keep making an impact together. Thanks for being part of the team. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. We're going to be talking a little bit about coaching read steps for linebackers before we go into the essential linebacker reads for any defense that's going to try and read guards. Now, the read steps are going to be the first steps that a linebacker takes on every single snap, which is super essential when it comes to good linebacker play. You always want to make sure that your linebacker is stepping towards the line of scrimmage, not away from the line of scrimmage. Very rarely would a coach recommend stepping away from the line of scrimmage unless you were just going to have some type of pass situation and you know that they're going to be bailing early. But almost in every single situation down in distance, you're going to step towards the line of scrimmage and get your read. So the read step is 1 to 2 steps, and I'm stepping towards my read. So if I'm playing the B gap, okay, and I'm in a 30 linebacker position, which means I'm on the outside shoulder of the guard, I'm going to step towards the outside shoulder of the guard. Boom, boom. Step towards the B gap. My inside step foot first. Then I'm going to take a short step with my outside foot and then back in with my inside foot. In 2 to 3 steps, I should get my read and know whether I'm going to commit to the open gap or I'm going to react to what I see. So this goes back to clear and cloudy. So if you get a cloudy read, which means my gap is closed, which could be a down block or something like that, I'm going to scrape to where I see flow going. So flow away, I'm gonna be slow over the center and then scrape to green grass. Again, we'll kind of go over the linebacker reads in more detail and what you're going to do for each individual read, whether it's a pull, whether it's a man block or a down block, and you'll kind of see how they all mesh together. But the read steps are super important because it's going to put your linebacker in a position to make the play. If they're just jumping in place, they're not gaining any ground, they're going to be hesitant and slow. We want them stepping towards the line of scrimmage first and then triggering. They can go step and then shuffle with flow or with their read, and then they can go step and aggressive downhill if it opens up. But you're going to teach the 2 steps. So I'm going to be looking at my key read. If I'm keying the guard, I'm going to be in a 30 linebacker position. I'm going to key the outside shoulder. I'm going to step towards the outside shoulder first. Boom, boom, 2 steps. And now I'm getting my read and I'm reacting to that read. So it's aggressive flow towards me. B gap closes. I'm going to work towards C gap. If I get something else, if it's open, I'm going to B gap now. If it's close, flow away, then I'm going towards A gap now. And it's all about repetition. How many times you can do it. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? So you need to make sure that you're practicing those read steps. I highly recommend putting bags behind their feet just to get them conscious of stepping forward in their read steps. Not going backwards. We're going to step forwards. All right? I would even, if you're a shuffle linebacker play, that's fine, but we're not going to go backwards first. We're always going to be stepping towards the line of scrimmage or parallel to the line of scrimmage. We're never going to step backwards. When we start stepping backwards, we're going to get out of position, and if we begin going backwards to go forwards where we get an open gap, it's going to be very disadvantageous to us because if a lineman comes up on us now, well, now we're in this transition of where we have to get our momentum back in front of our body, and we're not going to be able to do that. The lineman's going to get underneath us, and he's going to make a fantastic block that's going to end up on his highlight clips for huddle. So you have to be conscious of that when you're coaching linebackers is what's my key read? Am I stepping towards my key read? And make sure that they're doing it every single snap. So this is something that you're going to practice every single day. It's going to be an everyday drill, and we're going to practice our steps. And it doesn't have to take too long. You're just going to get 2 steps, boom, and you give them a read, and then they go. Right? And as you do it more and more, the kids are going to get more comfortable with it. And now you're going to be able to incorporate it along with your reads. And again, the reads are something that can change. It depends if you're going to read guards or read the backfield, and you can do either one or you can do both. But I personally read guards, and we're going to talk about how to read guards in the next video segment. So make sure you stay tuned, and we're going to pick up later. Coach, if you're looking to take your defense to the next level, I've got something special for you. I've just released my Dynamic 3-4 Defensive Playbook. This is a PDF full of blitz packages, coverage adjustments, run fits, and coaching tips that you can install immediately, whether you're facing spread teams or power-heavy offenses. This playbook gives you the flexibility and aggressiveness you need to succeed. So if you're serious about shutting teams down and confusing quarterbacks, head over to SidelineSuccessAcademy.com and grab your copy of the Dynamic 3-4 Playbook. Now let's get back to our original episode. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about reading guards as an inside linebacker and how that can improve your defensive productivity. So to give you two different scenarios, most of the time we will read guards in our base defense. Now, I do know that offensive teams can pull and influence linebackers in order to run something else. And if we see that, we can immediately swap our key reads from guards to backfield if we know that the opponent's good at that type of thing. Now, this is a very rare game plan adjustment for us, but I do know that a lot of people will base out of reading the backfield. The issue with this is that you can move a lot of different people in the backfield, and it just begins to blur everything up, and you're following a lot of smoke. The linemen will generally take you to the ball 90% of the time. So I'm going to follow the people that are going to take me to the ball 90% of the time, and that's who I want to read. Now, how do we do it? How do we handle? How do we coach it? The easiest thing that you can say to your kids is clear and cloudy. If they know that their gap is open, okay, they're getting ready to fill it. Now, if you want to teach them to scream through it, that's fine. Or they can be patient, ready for B-ball, committed, then meet him in the hole. That's fine too. But essentially, if we get a clear read, where if I'm responsible for this B gap right here, and it opens up like the Red Sea, I'm coming to fill it. All right, I'm coming to fill it. I'm coming to meet something in the hole and get there. Now, a cloudy read can happen when you get a down block and another down block. Now, a body is in my gap that I'm responsible for. The ball cannot be ran there, so I'm going to be looking for work. Once my gap is closed and I'm not sure where the guard, I'm always looking at the guard's butt, right? If his hips are down, he's getting a down block here, I know that the ball is probably coming this way. The ball is always going to be coming towards the guard's butt, okay? If I get that read, then I'm going to be scraping tight over the top here, okay, ready to get flow over the top. So it's just clear and cloudy. If it's clear, I'm stepping in there. If it's cloudy, I'm scraping over the top. If we get an outside zone read, so everybody just kind of starts reach stepping over here this way, and I see aggressive flow, then I'm flowing too, ready to scrape across the lineman that comes up. Same here, backside. We're all backside tracking. We're tracking the backside hip. Our outside linebackers are our force players. He's going to beat them there and force the cutback. We got to be there to make the play. We can't let linemen get their hands on us. We're scraping across their face, aggressively scraping across their face, dipping and ripping across his face. If we get a pull, so in pull situations, there's really two options that you can have that I know of. So if we get a pull, all right, your gap will pretty much open up here. Now, depending on which way we slant this guy, I don't like telling linebackers to shoot the gap. But if you're going to, okay, if you're basically in the 4-man front and you're teaching this guy to cross face or something like that, you can tell this guy to shoot the gap and just make the play in the backfield. So if he goes, he shoots the gap, he can get ready to dip, turn his shoulders with the center, come flat, and then get the tackle in the backfield. I don't always tell him to do that because in our base front we're slanting, so a lot of times this guy can slant here. Well, now he's going to be responsible for this cutback to green grass. So I'm going to step, I see pull, I make sure ball's committed this way before I start scraping over the top. So there's really two options. So you see the pull, you can send him. So if you're in a 4-2 and you're teaching the nose to cross face, Well, he's getting to the flow side, so linebacker can get to the cutback side. Now for us, our nose is the cutback guy. So we're going to teach him to take the cutback. So our linebacker is going to see flow, make sure flow goes that way. Then I'm scraping over the top to green grass. And this kind of gets you a hat on the backside for cutback and also gets you a hat play side. If you, regardless of which one you choose, and I'm not going to say if you, regardless of which one you choose, you're sound because you're still having somebody eliminate the cutback lane. Okay? So you just want to make sure that this type of scenario doesn't happen. So just to kind of give you a look. So if this goes here, okay, and let's just pretend this is Q counter or Q power or something like that. If our nose goes this way and our linebacker flows and it's Q running the ball, well, everything's cloudy over here. What do you think he's going to do with it? He's going to stick his foot in the dirt and go this way. And that happens quite a bit on GT counter because a lot of coaches are coaching the A gap cutback, and you have to be able to make sure that somebody's prepared to get in that gap. And so whether you want that to be a defensive lineman or a linebacker, you just need to know which one is taking it so that you can exchange the play side with the other one. So if I'm going to since I send my nose to the backside cutback most of the time, we're going to teach our nose, we're going to slant him in a position to where he's going to be backside most of the time. It's going to eliminate that backside cutback, and that way my linebacker can slow play the pull and then cross once the mesh happens. So once he sees ball committed, he's going because nose is going to take the cutback. If you want to do it the opposite, so now you pretend you're in a forefront system, and I'm teaching that center to cross face on, or excuse me, I'm teaching the nose to cross face on a center block when he blocks back for the pull. He's going play side now, so now my linebacker can go backside, and he's just pursuing. He sees that pull, he's just pursuing through the B gap, making the play in the backfield. But you have to make sure either way you go that you're fundamentally sound and that all the gaps are secure. Because what you can't have happen is that everybody's just immediately going to flow and nobody's taking the cutback. Because that's when you get gashed right up the backside for a 15-yard gain because he's gotten all the way to your safety. Now, of course, the easiest one, I won't say easiest one because of RPOs and stuff like that, but the easiest one for the most part is a true pass read where he's high hat, his chest is up, and he's pumping his palms. You want to make sure that they know what their pass responsibility is, whether they're dropping hook curl or if you have someone doing the middle hole. It just depends on what you're doing. But just teaching those easy guard reads can save you so many heartaches of just chasing somebody that doesn't have the ball. And so if you're constantly keying the backfield, and I see you keying the backfield, okay, as an offensive coordinator, if I see you keying the backfield, I'm immediately going to start smoke and mirrors back there. Boom, you're going to see somebody that you think has the ball, and then we're going to take it the other way. And you are also going to have a difficult time if you key the backfield with people that are under center, because with under center, you're never going to see the ball. If your team is a good under center team, you will never see the football. And so you're not sure. You just hope that you're attacking the right person. And if you're not, if I brought somebody in motion and they're on the backside and they're twirling around, well, now who's accounting for him? Because if that key is on the other side of the field and he's supposed to follow him all the way over here, he's probably never going to make it by the time that dude has the ball. And so those are just some things to consider when you're coaching inside linebackers is, do I want to cross key the backfield or do I want to key the guards? For me, it's always much easier to teach kids to read guards on the front end. And then if I want to change it for a game plan situation, then I can just flip it. I can go at halftime and say, hey, we're not keying guards anymore. We're going to be keying this H back or this S back. We're not keying the guards anymore. We're going to be keying the fullback. You can do that in a game plan situation. What you can't do is take a halftime and teach and coach really well guard reads. It's just not going to happen. You're going to need more time than that. It's got to be something that they rep over and over and over and over. You've got to rep a man block where the gap opens up. You've got to rep a down block where he needs to scrape over the top. You've got to rep a pull and he needs to know his assignment on the pull. You rep those things consecutively and religiously, and the kids will get better and better and better at them. Don't just excuse them because it's harder on the front end. I promise you that if that's your excuse on why you want to key the backfield, it's gonna come bite you in the butt later in the season. So invest the time on the front end now and get your kids good at reading the guards, and then you can always defer back to reading the backfield when you need it in a game plan situation. Like if I know that they see me reading guards and they have influence plays, then we can go back and read the backfield. And I can have a call for it, right? I can have a call for when they're reading the guards, or I can pull them on in a series and say, hey, they're starting to do this influence play. We're not going to read guards anymore. We're going to read this back. And our kids can do it. They can do it just like that. But in order for you to get good at reading guards, you have to know what you want your kids to do, and you have to know how to coach it. And the inside linebackers is probably one of the most essential positions on the defense, because if they're not in the right position, then you're going to get gashed. And so you have to be able to coach them to read those guards to get them in the right position. If you're just keying the backfield, then you can key the backfield. But you better hope that nobody catches you keying the backfield, because otherwise they're going to start doing a bunch of motion and fake meshes and all this different stuff, and you're not going to have a clue where the ball's going. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. We're going to wrap up a little bit of Bible talk coming from Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 12, where it says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So if you go back to the beginning of this video, we began talking about relationships. Relationships are the foundation of culture. They're the foundation that gives us the strength to overcome adversity. Regardless of your athleticism, culture is the multiplier. So if you think about that, if I'm athletic and I have good culture, then I'm probably going to have a really good team. But if I'm athletic and I have bad culture, then I'm not going to be able to overcome the adversity that I need to in order to be successful. So when things start going against us, are we going to shut down? Is the team going to pull apart, start pointing fingers and things like that? If you begin investing into relationships, teaching these kids to not only trust in you, but trust in one another, and encourage them to pull together and create relationships with one another, it's going to boost your culture. And culture is something that is irreplaceable within a sports program. Regardless of how successful you are, I believe that culture can make you more successful. And having good culture is something that comes from the top down. You cannot have good culture without the intention of creating good culture. You're not going to step into a program where everyone magically gets along all the time and there's no adversity and everything's smooth. It's just not going to happen. But what we can do is step into a program, create those relationships, build them up with one another, and then have that strong foundation to where if we have the mindset of regardless what comes at us, we're going to stay firm together and we're going to overcome this. And that comes because you took the time and the initiative to create those relationships and build them up with your kids. And that is what carries over to the successful program. And if you take that same approach, not only just in your program, but in the community, in your church, in your family, right? And you focus on building those relationships up, because what it's saying here is that you need relationships in your life. You do not want to be on an island by yourself. 2 are better than 1, right? Make sure that you're putting time, energy, and effort into those relationships because it's wise to do so. The Bible tells you to do so. And if you think about it, like throughout the whole theme of the Bible, the greatest commandment is to love others. Love others. And if you can do that through not just your family, not just what you're doing out in the community, but also within your program, and you teach your kids to do that, you're going to create a positive culture and a positive mindset within your program that's going to bleed over into your program success. But what you have to do is take the initiative. You start having to develop those relationships, and it goes back to finding the common ground, taking time to build upon those relationships, and then learning to initiate those conversations with empathy, right? And making sure that you understand that you are not the same as your athlete, and trying to figure out what motivates them so that you can become the best possible coach for them and the best possible coach for your program. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Faith, Family, and Football. If you got value from this episode, make sure to subscribe so that you never miss a new drop. And don't forget, head over to SidelineSuccessAcademy.com to grab your free ebook, The 10 Things to Know Before You Start Coaching. And this applies to all coaches. Plus, for all my football coaches out there, you can grab my full 3-4 defensive playbook. And right now, you can save $10 with the code PODDISCOUNT10 at checkout. Again, that's PODDISCOUNT10. Thanks for hanging out with me. Stay strong in your faith, lead your family, and coach with confidence. Catch you next time.